In this video, we're going to review creating subreports and incorporating subreports into a main report. In a prior video, we created a data table that included inflow and outflow information for households. We're going to create a subreport using this data and then incorporate the table we'll create into our main report. The reason we need to use a subreport to accomplish this is our main report is a tablix set up as a list. And within a tablix, you can only have one data set per report. So to have multiple data sets incorporated into a complete report, you'll need to use the subreports. So we're going to go ahead and create a subreport that can be incorporated into the main report. So here we have a blank report. I'll start with establishing the dimensions of the report I would like to create. This will be a landscape report. My margins will be 1/4 inch on each side, and I'm going to remove the title and the footer. I just want a blank report to start with, so I'll remove the footer. And now I'm going to increase the size of this report so that it's correct for the dimensions of the report we're creating. So I'll click on the report itself, and over here under size, I'm going to change the dimensions to 10.5 inches wide. And since this is a subreport that won't take up the entire height of the report, I'm just going to change my height to 4 inches. That should give us enough room to create the table we're going to create. The next thing I'm going to do is add a data source. I'll add a Power BI data set connection. I'll add this data set. And now I have my data source, I'll add a data set. So I click on data set and right click, and we'll call this report household flows. Select my data source and click on Query Designer. The data set I want to select is my ROR updates. So I'm going to drag the fields I need into the canvas. I'm going to go ahead and add a parameter from our household list table. This time I only need the household ID. I won't need both parameters in the subreport, just the household ID. So I'll select it, designate it as a parameter, and click OK, and OK again. So now we have our data set created. I'm going to add some elements to the report. I'm going to add a tablix, which will be a list. So at the top, I'm going to click on Insert, List. Again, a list is a type of container that allows for generating reports from multiple households or accounts at the same time. So I'm just going to drag this across my report. So now if I click on the report, it's going to show that we have a rectangle that is, if I click on the top left corner, also a tablix. Now I'm going to create a table that includes my inflow and outflow information. So I'm going to click on Insert Table, and what I'm going to want in the table itself will be the period, the 1 month data, the year-to-date data, and then the inception data. So now we have the fields for our table selected. I'm going to make some edits to the heading. We'll edit this to just say 1 month, year-to-date, and inception. We'll add some shading to the background. I'll make the background blue, and we'll make the font white. Going to make this column a little bit wider. We also need to edit the data fields here. Right now they're set up as default. We're going to want these to be currency. At this point, I'm also going to save this file. We'll save it as household flows. Okay, now I'm going to do some additional formatting to prepare the report to be generated. First thing I'm going to do is make sure we have our data set, which is household flows, assigned to this report. And to do that, I'm going to click on the report and then click on the box at the top left. So now I'm on my tablix, and scroll down, look under General Options for Dataset Name. And right now, there is no dataset assigned to this report. I need to select that so that now the data we've selected is recognized as the data that we will be using in this report. The next thing I'm going to do is create a sort order for our rows. In the table, we have a column called Index, which has been set up so that we can sort our rows so that we start with the beginning value and end with the ending value. To do this, I'm going to click on the table, go down to Details 1, right click, select Group Properties, click on Sorting, and I'm going to select the index column as the column to sort by, and I'll sort it ascending. The next thing I'm going to do is establish a group property for the tablix. I'll click on the open area here, go down to the Details area, right click on Details, click on Group Properties, Add, and I'm going to select Household ID as my group property. I'm going to go ahead and run this. I'll select a household ID, view report, and now we have our table created with the beginning value, inflows, outflows, and so forth, all showing in the correct row. I'm going to go back to Design View, And I would like this sub-report to be set up so that it is the beginning of a new page in my main report. So I'm going to click in the white area. Now the rectangle is activated. I'm going to right-click on Rectangle Properties, and I'm going to select Add a Page Break Before. So this table will now be the beginning of a new page within the main report. I'm going to then move this up to the top. I'll expand the size of this column a bit more. And now I'm going to close up this white space. I don't want all of this extra white space in the report. As far as the horizontal positioning of the table, we could leave it where it is, or we could slide it over to the right side of the report. We could also center it. And to center it, to be exact, the best way would be to view the width of the table. If we look at the width of the table, it's about 6.61 inches wide. Our report is 10.5 inches wide. So to have this table centered, we would need it set up so that it is 1.94 inches from the left-hand margin. Just by subtracting 6.61 or 6.62 from 10.5, and then dividing that by 2, it tells us how much space we need on each side of the table so that it's centered. So I'll enter 1.94 here, and that'll position the table 1.94 inches from the left margin, which will center it in our report. The next thing I'll do is just be sure that we have our filter assigned for the household ID, so that we know that when we select the household ID parameter, it'll select the correct household. And we do have that set up, so the household ID for the report will be determined by the household ID parameter that we select when we run the report. So again, to select your parameter, you would just simply come into this area, select parameters, double click on the parameter that you want to use to select your household ID, and click OK and OK. And now the last thing we need to do is just publish the report. So I'm going to select Publish, and this is the workspace I'd like to publish to. Household Flows will be what I name it, and select Publish. And now this sub-report is available to be inserted into a main report. Now what we're going to do is insert the sub-report into our main report. And to do this, we go to Insert, Insert Sub-Report, and I will create a space for our sub-report to be inserted into. Now in the sub-report area, I will right-click Sub-Report Properties, and I will locate my sub-report. It is the Household and Flows sub-report here, so I'll double-click on that. I'm also going to assign a parameter, Add. In our sub-report, we created this parameter from the household list table and the HHID or the household ID field. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to connect it to the household ID in the main report. So when all of the reports are run, the parameters selected at the main report level will be tied into the parameters that have been set up for the sub-report as well. So I'll click OK, and as you recall, this sub-report was set up in a rectangle with a page break before this table. I will also close the white space beneath this sub-report so that it didn't create extra space that we don't want. One thing I notice here is this sub-report should be slid to the left a little bit, because I noticed that it now has pushed our main report outside of the margins. If you look up here, and this can create some unnecessary blank pages if you're not careful. When I placed the sub-report into the main report, the sub-report went outside of the margin for the main report. So I just moved that to the left, and now I'm going to bring the size of this report back within the margins that were established. So I will again save the main report, and I will click Run, select the household, View Report, and now we have the table at the top of page 2 of our main report. This video provided some fundamentals on creating sub-reports and inserting them into the main reports. In the future videos, we'll go into additional details, but this provided a basic overview of sub-reports.